is Makana. I am going to be creating a new channel. First of all, this is the news. I'm going to be creating a channel called Siren M. So I will put a link to that, and I will be uploading videos under Siren M. Just changing it out. So if you are enjoying these readings, I really appreciate any comment, or if you push the like button, lets me know that you like what I put out, and then I'll try to keep putting out more of that. Today's reading is about facing the unknown. So I've been shuffling the deck here, and we have our first card, the Hanged Man. Ace of Wands, Four of Swords, and feeling like trying one more card today. The High Priestess. Wow. So the two major arcana are kind of sandwiching the rest of this meaning, and with these two showing up, it generally means that you are in a bit of an uncomfortable place. You may recognize that. You may be surrendering. What you are experiencing right now is alchemizing you. It's literally transforming you into your higher self. It's what you've been manifesting, what you've been calling in. It's something pleasurable and desirable, in contrast with your current circumstances, which are not pleasurable or desirable. However, sometimes we have on our road of life choices that are immediately icky or uncomfortable. Icky just in the way of I don't necessarily want this right now. However, I recognize that this is the necessary next step, and it may be something like working really hard at a job that you don't really like, but using it as a temporary stepping stone, because you're giving yourself the sense of flow and security to call in and create your later manifestation. Just as long as you recognize that you're not stuck here, that whatever this uncomfortableness is, it could be a job, it could be a relationship, it could be the end of a relationship, it could be the beginning of you forming new habits that are healthier for you, in line with your balance and well-being. I really get a sense of balance from this card. So, and that with the whole spread is also really speaking out. It's you have all the fire of creativity coming to you now due to this change and due to this time of, I'm also thinking solitude, or time with animals, time with some really gentle beings that don't really take up that headspace. You don't have to explain yourself or justify your actions. You just have to be. And in this state, you find your creativity, you find your magnetism to bring in the creative project that maybe you've been really dreaming of, to make it real. It's something where you're creating, you're manifesting something bigger and brighter than you really thought. Maybe your career has been forestalled and you've been waiting for the opportunity to take a new direction. This is indicating that this is arising. And the Gemini full moon is coming up. I recommend looking up that energy to see how you can maximize it. By the time you watch this video, maybe it'll be a different moon, but I like aligning my intentions with the lunar patterns, as that helps me ground in and be aligned with my environment, but also it helps me to look at is this a time for letting go, or is this a time for building something up? Is this the time for releasing something? Is this the time for preparing to release something? Is this the time for sort of really putting things into action? So different phases of the moon connect to that. So this is indicating that a period of rest and abundance is coming your way. So the Four of Swords being a pretty ideal card. Maybe she's a little bored, but that's all we can really say here. So it's the the impetus for this change, I feel like, was like a sense of stagnation, a sense of not going anywhere. And you do fear this in your future. However, it's in your hands to change it. So you can either go back to doing what you were doing, comfortable, safe, and that's sort of like, I feel like this card coming up is sort of indicating that, like, if you really had, like, everything at your disposal, if you really had all the financial security, all the enjoyment that you knew would come along with it, like if you knew it wasn't going to stress you out, if you knew it was going to balance you, if you knew it was going to be you stepping into your higher self instead of just going off on some crazy side track and then ending up exactly where you ended up. So this card is pointing to that fear raising, but to rest easy. Know that you don't have to let things hang over you. See how the swords are kind of like pointed down. You can put your fears and anxieties to rest. That's what this indicates to me. And also with the High Priestess being like the last card, like this is really powerful because she really pops up when we are listening to our intuition, we are being called. Synchronicities may be showing up for you, so pay attention to that. I like to notice repeating numbers. I feel like it's like just like a cute little wink from the universe. Like, yeah, there's something wild and mysterious that is like really beyond our capability and understanding. And the High Priestess lives into that. She honors that. And she doesn't have to explain her path to anyone. You're going to find that in the creative process, you need to be in your own energy, because what you're creating is so big and so unexpected and so even unknown to you. Like, it's like you have been feeling inspiration, but what's going to come out is going to have a life of its own. You see the little cat coming out of the fire? So fire having this like alchemic property already, and cats being very independent creatures. So what you're creating is going to have a life of its own. It's going to transform you in your making of it. And it's going to put you on your higher path. So whatever discouragements you're feeling and whatever fears are cropping up, try to like treat them like small, annoying, those little wasps, like those little bees that come around. They're not bees, they're wasps. They're yellow jackets that come around a picnic, and they just like hang out around you. Like, in fact, if the last bonfire I had, or any time I'm outside with food lately, it seems like they're just like hanging out, like being like, what's up, I want some of that yumness. And you're like, oh my god, you have to be here. Like, I'm just trying to chill and eat a sandwich, but sure, have some tuna. And they're actually pretty strong. Like, they took a little chunk of my tuna last time and like flew away with it. Like, it was like a chunk about this big. I was like, all right, you're very hungry, I see. So if there are things that you feel like are trying to like take a chunk out of you, or just buzz around and annoy you, maybe even you feel like they're like distracting you, just give yourself permission to cave right now, to go into a kind of wintering mode. The Gemini moon too is almost like the like two-facedness of Gemini. It's like not always like duplicitous and bad. It's like you have a face for the world, and then you have an inner experience, and you sometimes need to guard that. Like when you're building something that's tender and vulnerable inside of you, like you've been healing something, and you've been returning to your inner child, and you've been reassuring her or him, and you've been bonding with that sensitive being that is like just barely tiptoeing back into your heart, and you're opening your heart more and more. Like, you don't need to share all of that with everyone in your world. You can share that with people you feel are really worthy. You can share that with individuals who you feel like might be kindred spirits and understand. But let them indicate that to you. You can even ask questions before you feel like you need to, like, you don't, especially like creative projects, I feel like there's something that is really essential to keeping it to yourself, building it, manifesting it before you share it, because the person you share with could be experiencing a creative block. They could be feeling jealous. They could be feeling envious of other people who have like a sort of creative channel that's just flowing for them. Like it's just so great that you're having all the creative freedom and ability and joy with it, and I'm just kind of here like I wish I felt inspired. Oh, you're inspired about that? That's kind of shitty lame. Like, so like, don't let that energy, because that, unfortunately, I've found that in creative communities that sometimes blocked artists block each other. So you need to go where there's flow. You need to not be susceptible to others' input. If that makes sense. Just like guard your heart a little bit, and you don't have to like be all like secretive or like, you could just say I'm busy, or I'm working on a project, I'd rather not talk about it right now. And if they press you, like, I just feel like talking about it is not gonna be conducive to making it is conducive to making it, therefore I'm gonna make it, and then I'll be happy to share it with you. And if they want to keep checking how's that project going, just like I won't say anything about it until it is complete, so you'll hear that from me. You don't need to check that in. I appreciate that you're interested and excited, but it's something that I need to do on my own timeline. And I know that you can't rush a miracle, right? You can't rush a masterpiece. So giving yourself that sense of worthiness and confidence that you desire to hear from others, like maybe you desire to hear that validation, sharing your project, like, oh, that sounds like such a great idea. But the minute you get that validation, it's sort of like the energy, it's sort of like it just like poofs down. It's like your souffle has gotten to its like max fluffiness, and then like you share like your inspiration, and someone's like, oh yeah, that's perfect, and then it kind of like energetically deflates after that. So that's what I'm getting at. It's like, don't let this energy deflate is the only kind of drawback that I see happening, because you already have some fears about this, because you have some past maybe disappointments or setbacks that have let you just like decide, I'm just going to be comfortable for a while. I'm not going to take any risks for a moment because risking feels too painful, too tender. But I challenge you to see for yourself an opportunity to risk and to let it alchemize you, to let the open-hearted embracing of this new adventure, just and doing it just for you is really important. Like embracing this adventure wholly and honoring it and treating it as something really sacred. Just like hold it and let it contain you. Like let yourself, when you're like lonely and lost and feeling anxious, just like put yourself into this creative space. Like what do I want to envision? What do I want to see in the world? How can I make this happen even in the smallest step? What's the smallest step that I can take today? And take that step. You will find relief from these anxieties and worries the more you are actively engaging in it. I met this really interesting kind of enlightened dude, maybe a slight drug problem there, but he was like super fascinating to talk to. He owned his own laundromat, and he shared something with me. He said like, stress is just action not taken. Like when you're stressing about something, it's an indication that there's an action that you are meant to take. And if you haven't taken it, you're going to stress about it until you do. So whatever has been stressing you, this is time to not let that stress build, but it's time to instead prepare to take action. So we're in if you're looking at the moon, like I am, we're in the stage of like things are culminating to be released, and then there's going to be this space to clear out, like so much clearing out, house cleaning, like spiritual, emotional, mental house cleaning. So like this is a good time to like look at yourself, do some reflecting, do some meditating, look at any patterns that might continue to try to pop up to block you in this, that might want to just like trick you, like your ego's tricks and your like relationship fallbacks, and your just like not to like critique your whole self or be super analytical, but just like make a list of like what are the potential setbacks I see along the way, just to prepare yourself that you can take proactive steps, right? To like, okay, that's something I see for myself. I see that at times I maybe like get overly defensive or sensitive about what I'm creating, and if I hear one critique, I feel totally shut down. If that's something that you experience, note that for yourself and say, how can I find a teacher who can guide me? Like, I actually really recommend Brene Brown for this. She's wonderful about talking about when you share your creativity, how you don't need to take criticism from anybody except someone who's actually doing exactly what you're doing, like the exact kind of project that you're working on. And how many creative people have that? Like, most people aren't doing something exactly like what you're doing. You may be branching out and doing something totally original. You may find yourself like, oh yeah, I am doing something, like I'm doing these like coffee art stencils. So if you're going to take criticism from someone, it shouldn't be from your mom or your cousin or the local barista who doesn't make stencils even. It should be from a fellow barista stencil maker. I know that's super specific, but I'm just trying to get to how specific you need to be about how open you need to be about others' criticism. You don't need to let that in a massively self-destructive way. Like, unfortunately, a lot of artists, very sensitive beings, we have this door wide open. So anyway, that's why I keep emphasizing this, because I feel like there are preemptive measures you can take. Look up people who have wisdom to speak to. What is this insecurity, or what is this block? What is this thing that's coming up for me that I feel like, tries to derail me from my progress, and proactively forestall that. Like, you can put down your salt in your sandbags in anticipation of the snow. This is your spiritual, emotional salt and sandbags. So that's my invitation for you to make the most out of this time. And I really see that, like, the more we trust our creative visions, the more that they can actually grow into something that sustains us, it nourishes us. And if we feel sustained and nourished, we don't need to lash out in lonely, aggressive, controlling ways. Like, we can reach out in love. We can reach out in love to creativity. We can reach out in love to others, sharing what we manifest and create and dream and inspire others to do so. And I do think that this isn't something that's just small and selfish. This is something that ripples out in your community, in your world. And the more creative people I know, the more enlivened and enriched and just like somehow even like safe I feel in the world. Like, I feel like there's like this flock. Oh my God, there's actually an amazing flock of birds just like swarming outside the window, coming together. So it's just like kind of like that energy, just like we're drawn together to create something even bigger. So that's just my thoughts today. I hope that resonates for you. I feel really blessed to have a creative streak. I know people say, I'm not creative, and you may see that for yourself, but what about your sense of style? What about your sense of how you problem solve at work? What about being an intuitive healer? These are facets of creativity, maybe less celebrated. You can invite that into your own sense of acceptance of, like, I am a creative being because I can imagine, or I can envision, or I can find a solution that doesn't exist yet. So that's just like how our minds want to work. They want to like create new avenues and outlets. That's like setting out an adventure, being your own hero. Like, having an amazing life doesn't involve like rote, repetitive, every day the same, and like never grow. Like that never leads. That's never what the universe wants for us. I feel that's just like, whenever I'm in that, I start to feel stuck. And then the sense of like push inside is like, you need to grow. This is the one wild life that we get. And no matter how painful and devastating it can be, the more you try to hold on to keeping everything exactly the same, when you know that there is some path or something that you're meant to do that is challenging that, like, find your inner stability. Don't try to hold on to it externally, because it will not. It will not. It was like you're the hanged man. You're like tied upside down, and you find like, well, the more I try to like, oh, where'd it even go? The more I try to tether myself here, the more stuck I feel. Who's not meant to live here. No, none of us are. So I hope that resonates for you. I know I keep saying that. Why do I keep saying that? Resonate. Okay. Love you so much. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll talk to you really soon. Bye.